a small town courthouse, shadows never lie. I'm standing tall with truth by my side. Families torn apart by secret sunset, but I'm turning the page, bringing light instead. Whispers in the night, they echo through the halls, from broken-hearted children behind those walls. I bring their voices to the door of justice met. Swore I'd turn the page, not let them forget. Whispers in the night, they echo through the halls, from broken-hearted children behind those walls. I bring their voices to the door of justice met. Swore I'd turn the page, not let them forget. Turning the page for every family scarred, exposing the lies, no matter how hard.
That's me in the very beginning. Now I am a baby and getting zoomed from my mom to my birthday. I don't remember a lot about my younger life, but I remember it was fun and I felt so safe. My mom and dad always happy. I guess my mom's sister was mad that my dad was so great, so she called the police and said he hit my mom. We were all reading when they came. I heard my dad yelling, "There's no way." My mom was crying loudly. Some lady took us away. The court said my parents abused and neglected us. They only loved us. The caseworker lied. I never saw my parents again. I'm still hoping one day they come. I am a victim of CPS and so are my parents. We need to find justice in all of this madness for all of us that are being abused. It's not fair. Every kid I know has a mom and dad. I know they miss me. I bet they fight every day for me to come home.
Don't get caught like us. Know your rights.
Turning the page for every family scarred, exposing the lies, no matter how hard for the mothers, the fathers, the kids left behind. Turning the page with a clear state of mind.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Turn the Page with Kim Page. I am your host, Kim Page. Tonight, I have a guest out of Alabama. She's had some issues with CPS, but hers have been from a little bit of a different perspective than most other parents have. She is actually called CPS to help her protect her child, and CPS has done exactly the opposite. So let's get Jamie brought up if we could. There we go. Hey, Jamie, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. So I told everybody that you kind of have a little bit of a different perspective on Child Protective Services, in that they didn't knock on your door, but you actually asked them to help you protect your child. Can you tell us a little bit about your story?
I probably have really bad service, so I'm going to go ahead and say that. Sorry if I break up. I'm definitely going to be emotional too, so I'm going to apologize ahead of time. But yeah, no, there's been a situation where my child came to me when she was quite young, and very soon into the investigation, it was shut down because of her age. They just said I was kind of making things up, that it was a lie, and very quickly when we were in court, they were there with the abuser, and on everything getting green, I've got no reason to lie. My daughter's got no reason to lie. We truly did ask for help, and they came in and placed her in the hands of an abuser, and this has been our case for 4 years now.
So I know this is hard for you, Jamie, but what exactly, without obviously going into too much ban us from YouTube graphics, what exactly was going on with your daughter that you felt the need to call CPS? All right, I think Jamie broke up there. Jamie, can you hear us? Oh, I guess we lost her. So Amy, let's you and I chat for a minute.
So
You
sorry.
are, oh, there we are, Jamie. You're back.
So sorry. My service is
That's
bad.
okay. Did you hear the question I asked, or would you like me to repeat it?
I think you asked what has happened in our
Yeah.
situation.
What prompted
basically.
you to call Child Protective Services to assist you?
So honest to goodness, me and her dad, we had separated, just due to the fact that I couldn't, I mean, this is just absolutely TMI, but the reason that we divorced was, kind of got to our point where in our relationship that I didn't feel like I was able to satisfy him in the way that a wife would. And I just was kind of disgusted, and really, truly, we separated on that very note. When she was 2.5, she was having a really bad dream. And if you're a mom, and especially a good mom, then you pick up on things. And she was basically fighting someone off over in her sleep, like truthfully. So I just woke her up and told her that she was with mommy, and that she was home, and told her she could tell me anything. If anyone had ever hurt her. She said tickle too, and I said yes. I asked if someone tickled her, and she responded that her dad had. So we went to our county victim services within a couple of days and started trying to get the help that we needed.
So she expressed that she was being sexually abused by her dad. And when you contacted CPS, what was their response to you? How did they treat you with this?
I'll be honest. I kind of grew up in the system myself. I already knew that they're like not going to be, very friendly firsthand. And because of my upbringing, my family doesn't have a good name in my town. So I tried to avoid them at all costs in a way initially. I went to victim services, which helps adult women in my county. And they told me they were in the process of also getting DHR involved, but they had always dealt with adult women being physically abused, not children being sexually abused. So we went and stayed at a victim services, like a shelter, for a couple of weeks. And they believed me with their whole heart. They helped me keep my paper trail. They gave me a lot of very great advice firsthand. And it wasn't until after that I had to reach out to DHR. It's all such a confusing story. It's so tricky.
So when you did have your first initial contact with DHR, what did they say to you?
Her dad had also made the report that I was like psychotic, that I was crazy, and keeping our daughter from him. So that was kind of what they were focused on, was if I could pass a drug screen and if I was like sane, kind of thing. That was truly the way they were going with it. There was nothing, they didn't bat an eye at the abuse initially that I had suspected, and went and reached out for help. Like I said, I didn't go to DHR firsthand the first time. I eventually did, because there's just been so many reports from my child to me.
Right. So did they offer you any kind of counseling for your child, any kind of evaluation for her? Did they even address the accusations you were making?
They said that she was in the state of Alabama. You have to be 3 years old to be questioned, and she was 2.5. She was a few months shy of 3 years old, and they didn't do a forensic interview because of her age. They didn't do a medical
Did
exam
they?
that initial time either.
So they did not send her for a medical exam. So they told you basically that they did not care that you were making accusations that your child was possibly abused.
Correct. The case was closed because it was unfounded. Neither of us were proven unfit at that point. So we went to court and the judge put it back to 50-50. While we were in court, DHR was there to stand up for him and say that he needed the child from the very first hearing. After we had anything to do with them, they was in the courtroom helping represent the abuser.
So
A few.
You said that that you were accused of issues. Did you ever take a psychological evaluation? Or
Eventually, yes. So it's not even just been our county DHR. Like, my child's guardian ad litem truly hasn't. I don't think she's done her job. I'll say that. And that's not the only guardian ad litem that's not done a great job. But she requested me to do a psych evaluation, so I went and followed through the process of it at Coleman County DHR, and did not get a diagnosis. The doctor was basically hugging me, handed me tissues. He told me that he deals a lot with invisible tears. He was like, "Miss, I am so sorry with what you and your child have gone through." He told me that if it came back on the true and false written exam that I was honest, that he would request an evaluation from my ex-husband because he would know my story was true and there was more to what's going on. And he did that. He requested an evaluation from my ex-husband because DHR was not going to give him one. And he ended up being diagnosed as a narcissist. There was different points in there, like I said, about impulse control. It was said that he needed a psychosexual evaluation, and they still placed her with her dad.
So not to cut anyone off, sorry.
Go ahead, Amy. Sorry, Jamie. This is Amy Walmsley. She's one of the admins on our page.
Nice to meet you.
Am I hearing that
Coleman
County there is a am I hearing that there is a legit psychologist in Coleman County that actually gives a damn about the children, and DHR is still ignoring a legit psychologist's
Yes, I was 100% shocked.
If not in danger.
So since this all started, when they first started saying that therapy is what I needed, that I'm just dealing with past trauma, different things like that, I went to victim services. The first place I told you we went for shelter and tried to get help. I went to them because they offer counseling, and that I am a secondary victim and that she does not deal with secondary victims, and she told me where to go to seek out help. So I went to the next county over to avoid political conflict of interest, and I have been in therapy for a year and a half now. My therapist through and through, and she told me evaluation and his evaluation, and she said there's no reason that my child. She told me that she felt like when we went to court, he wouldn't have got her at court because of the evaluation itself. The problem is we never get to go to court, like I had told Kim. They dismiss it the day before or continue, or it's like we're never before a judge. So there's never any of this very important information in front of the very important person. But I was shocked that the psychologist.
That's what they do, and they just drag it out.
I was shocked that I just had anything good, like I said, my name and name that my dad has, first and last name, and my family. They're just not the best crowd of people, and I separate myself from them. But I didn't expect him to give me a good reading, but there was nothing but good things about me. I got a book for my daughter that I'm going to write a book about this entire story, and he was like, "I'm able to get your book signed by you." That's what.
Good. You mentioned that you had
Jamie, you were talking about the psychosexual evaluation. I just looked this up. A psychosexual evaluation is necessary because it helps assess an individual's sexual history, identify potential deviant sexual interests, and determine the risk of future sexual offenses. So
Yep.
you said that the psychologist evaluated your child's father and said that a psychosexual evaluation was necessary. Does DHR or CPS, were they ever, do they know about this? Were they made aware of this?
Absolutely. And withhold his evaluation from me. They did everything to keep it out of the system. In fact, it to my attorney's office, which I thought was super eerie. Like, it was not in the system until my attorney scanned it in the system. Truthfully. Yeah.
So the courts know about this evaluation.
I'm sorry, you broke up. Do what?
The courts know about the evaluation that your child's father has.
So because we went to court in August of last year, I didn't get to go before the judge. It was the pendente light.
Mhm.
I'm quite sure. Like I said, this is all so confusing. We had mediation right before, and we were trying to go back to at least a 50-50, which is what we've always had. We've always had a 50-50, but usually she would live with me, and as long as I would just kind of obey him, be his friend, she would live with me. And then if I would not be friendly with him, then he would be like, I want to get her for my week. It was that's what we went through for about 2 years. When we went to court, I was really expecting it to go back to 50-50, but all they would offer was every other weekend and one day every other week. I don't know. I can't explain why anyone thinks that's okay in this situation, but that is the visitation I've got of last year. And then it increased to 2 days every other week. So then it was 8 days a month. At this point, I'm seeing her 8 days a month. And because of the snow, I'm just going to go into this, because of the snow last week, the week before, I had told him I was going to get her early Friday morning instead of Friday afternoon to avoid the bad weather on the roads. And he called me Wednesday and asked if I wanted to get her Thursday night instead of Friday morning because of the weather. And I was like, absolutely. So I got there after work Thursday to get her, and they were not home, and he would not answer my phone. And he texted me and said to call my attorney. So I called my attorney, and she explained nothing had been filed. We didn't know until Tuesday of this week that my daughter's teacher has recently made another report. This would be the 6th report that's been made. She's still not been to a doctor. She's not been interviewed. They're not looking into it in any kind of way. I'm still doing everything that I can to get the right eyes on all of this information, and we do have trial February 3rd, and I do feel strongly that it will come to an end because the judge is finally involved. But it's been literally 5 years of terror with the DHR involved in any kind of way. They have represented him. They've placed her with him. They've protected him. They've protected documents that should have him in prison. Truthfully. It's like, if you've not been through it, it really is hard to believe. It is.
Now, didn't you say that you've been advised by your attorney not to speak out?
Yeah, and this is, like I said, when I say we've done this for 5 years, I've been through many attorneys, appointed, paid, all the whole 9 yards. This one that I know now knows me and my family personally, and that's why I chose her. She's met my daughter, and a woman does fight for a woman a bit differently. But they think that they don't want you to ruffle feathers or step on toes, and I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm emotionally exhausted for my daughter. I'm tired of it.
Jamie, let's talk about that. What what do you do when you get in those kind of states where you just can't deal anymore? It's just too much for you. How do you push through?
Honest to goodness.
That's
When
kind of
when
my
we were
daughter is
talking
still making
a little bit earlier.
They already should have done a medical exam when she was a toddler and made accusations.
Well,
But they
okay, so
certainly
like I
should do a forensic interview
so it's also tricky.
as
So like
well
I
as
said, the first
physical
time
evaluation. Now, she would be about 7 or 8.
that it was reported, it was not looked into because of the age. They closed the case. We went to court 50-50. Then the first time it was reported was in October. So then March of the following year, within just 6 months later in March, she told me again something. I mean, like if y'all want me to tell exact words, I will. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but
No, you can you
she told
can
me,
you
sent
can
me a
tell.
text message. Okay, so like Wednesday night, I was supposed to get her Friday. Wednesday night, her dad texted me messages that go way back, years back. He said, I wouldn't give her what she wanted, so she told me she's going to tell you I've been bad. And then he put hashtag coached. At that time, my child was not 3 years old, and you think that she knows blackmail? So when she came home 2 days, and
Right.
then 2 hours after, he called me wanting me to come be very friendly with him, if you know what I mean. And did you lose me again?
Nope, you're still there.
Okay. Friday night when she came home, she told me something else. So Saturday morning, I went to the county he lived in. I went to that police department. I showed them the text message that her dad had sent me 2 days prior, and then I told them what she had told me. At that point, the next county over that's not got his attorney's name wrote all over it, they did start investigating, and they did do a medical exam, and there was trauma that time. Do you know that when you go in for those exams, you're told, like, at this point, it's out of my hands. Like, you don't get any information of it's all with the investigative team. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to send these things off, and then they're going to all get together and come together on what they find. At that point, there's nothing that I can know or do about it. This is the 5th attorney that I've had. She found the records August of 2024 that there's been 2 medical exams, one when my child was 2 and one when she was 5, that showed trauma. Quite sure that it was SPE, just semen possible evidence, just saliva, sweat, whatever. There's been 2 of those, and then my daughter has gave disclosures after that also. Like, she told them that he touched her in her sleep, that he gave her boo-boos on her cooter and her butt, that he used to be a good dad. And they said that it was inadequate and come like that verbatim over and over again. She told them that her mommy says it's important to tell the truth. And they said it's coached because she said her mommy said we have to tell the truth. Like, truthful. I swear to God, that's the truth where we're at.
First of all, you telling your child to tell the truth is not coached. Sorry, I'm finally done driving. Secondly, okay, well, if they're claiming it's unsubstantiated and that he didn't do it, well, shouldn't they be looking for who did do it to your daughter?
And like I said, so like there's even a nurse reported it October of last year. October of last year. I took her in for a UTI. We're in the doctor all the time. So took her to the doctor. She was diagnosed with vaginitis, and the nurse reported child sex abuse based on the amount of redness. Even she said she met the police at the door and told them that, and they took my kids from me and put them in foster care when a nurse reported that about the other parent that I've been trying to protect her from.
So UTI is one of the classic symptoms when a child is being sexually abused, when a little girl is being sexually abused. My daughter, when she was 5, she had she came to me saying that she had some issues down there, and it was redness and it hurt. And immediately I called CPS and asked CPS, let's make a report. I'm going to take her in to have her evaluated. We've got an appointment for the next day to get her looked at. And they asked me who I thought had done this to my daughter. At the time, the person who she had indicated had touched her was a friend of my son's. So he was only 8 years old. I took her to the doctor, and fortunately, it turned out that she had had an allergic reaction to soap that was bubble bath that was put in her bathtub. So fortunately, she had not been. But a couple of years prior to that, she had some issues. We found out was grade 2 reflux of her left kidney. Basically, the urine was backing up from the bladder into the kidney and causing serious issues with UTIs. And the very first symptom that she had was in her diaper at 6 months old. You could smell the infection. Her doctor, thank God, was a really good person. He knew me from having my son. He knew me from my sister going to him, and he knew that that was never something that would happen from me. And he looked at me and he said, why does she have a UTI? That makes no sense. And instead of him calling CPS, instead of him, trying to make issues for me, he did what needed to be done. And my daughter was able to get the medical attention she needed. But it's so many parents are put in the situation you're put in because doctors don't do that.
Of them,
they don't look for a reason.
So like when I have taken her to her doctor, when she laid on the table, looked at the UTI, my little girl closed her eyes so tight like this and like gripping her hands. If a doctor, like if anyone was paying attention, you would know that's not normal. You know what I mean? Like that's obviously someone that's being abused in that kind of way, and that's a red flag. And at that,
I've noticed that Alabama doesn't really care about that kind of stuff. My oldest, our custody case with her is not DHR related; it's third party. But they've posted pictures of her in bathing suits. Like it's a husband and wife couple. The pictures of her in her bathing suit on there. There was a picture not last spring, the spring before, where she had bruising around her wrist, bruising on her fingernails, bruising right here on her clavicle, prints that look like this on your thigh. How do you get thumbprints on your thigh?
Right.
And I mentioned it, and they're like, well, she's accusing us of sexual abuse. Why else would my 6 at the time, she's 8 now, have marks like that? I found medical records from about a year and a half after they got her. They were still taking her to the doctor I used to go to. So when I pulled all the records, those were in it. The last visit they took her to in October of 2019, they got her in March of 2018. The woman who has her is the one that took her to the doctor, claiming that my daughter, who was 2.5 at the time, what had a bad emotional reaction when her husband would come home from work and take off his shirt and just be in like his wife beater. He wears dark colored wife beaters. I used to live with them. I know what they wear. No, he wears white ones actually. My daughter's dad used to wear really dark ones, and he always had a t-shirt over it. She worded it as, we're not sure what kind of trauma this child experienced, but she seems really upset when my husband starts undressing, like to put, like, you know how you just walk around in your tank top at home. And the thing is, they got her at 13 or 14 months old. She was double the age at this point. She probably has very little memory of being with us to begin with. And when the doctor, they put in the notes that they were going to send her for psychological testing and to see what was going on with her, right? That was the letter went to that provider. And I have not seen any of the records past that, because they put in an interrogatory at one point who the provider was. That provider only works for one doctor's office, clinic, attachment thingy. I tried with her real name. I tried with the name that they keep trying to claim as her real name. That doctor's office also uses social security numbers. We ran it every which way but Sunday. They have no record of my child ever being a patient.
Wow.
My child has broken an arm there. My child has broken a tooth there, all kind of stuff. But they're like, you're just crazy. You're just claiming stuff because you know you're wrong. No, first of all, y'all lied to start all of this. Second of all, there's, even just from what I've seen online and that one medical record, and then, okay, if you do have a child, whether it be your own child or someone else's in your home that's having strange emotional things or psychological things or something going on, and the doctor goes, hey, we're going to get a psyche eval done on this kid, and you dip potato chips
Quit.
somewhere,
Right.
you're hiding something.
So that's another, like you saying that makes me think about this. I have a 3-year-old son that I do not share with the same man that I share my 6-year-old daughter that we're going through all this with.
Yeah.
So he is all mine. All mine. And he got taken away when he was 19 months old. He had been exclusively breastfed, never took a bottle, never. I had always had jobs that I could take him. I cleaned houses and things like that. And he just went everywhere with me, 100%. So he got removed also. They said that my son had like anxiety problems. You removed a 2-year-old breastfed baby from its mom that doesn't know anybody. Of course he's going to have anxiety problems, you psycho. Then it got to a point where I have recorded every phone call, every like meeting that I have with these people, every visit that I had with my child in front of them. I'd set my phone up, turn my camera on, and just let it over here, even if it just would hear us talk, it hurt us. And there was one point my son's feet, his little right foot was turned inward like this, and the left foot's normal, and he kept tripping over the right one. And I told the teacher, the supervisor that was my caseworker that obviously hates me, that I felt that his shoes was bothering him because he's never had any trouble walking. And at that point she made the remark, has he ever really even worn shoes? Yes, he's worn shoes. I have prickers in my yard and we can't go outside barefoot. Anyways, when we go to remove his shoes, his toes were like this. I have this all on video. And screamed a scream I've never heard any of my children cry because his shoes were too tight. The foster parents put him in those shoes. How many times had he reacted that way? Because I know it couldn't have been the first time for them to have been that tight. I mean, when he got returned home about 2 months after that situation, and the skin on his toes was dying and flaking off because of the, I guess, restricted blood flow. Like, honest to goodness, I've got pictures and videos of all this.
Oh my goodness, that's horrible. That is absolutely horrible. And charged with this abuse?
Nothing at all. In fact, when I made the remark at my next visit, Bubba, I love your new shoes. These are the remarks I will not tolerate. No parent is perfect. And I was like, or she said, we are not perfect. That's what she said. And I said, I know that you're not. I can't remember what I said, but I would say things like, have the day you deserve. I know that you're not perfect. Things like that to him because we're not friends.
Yeah, I had a lot of remarks similar to that made towards me. We're supposed to give grace to the CPS workers, but they don't give us the same grace.
No.
Wendy, 1 second, Jamie. Wendy, you're actually going to be on Darren's
Absolutely.
show, which is about 20 minutes from now. You definitely are invited if you want to come on the show at a later time. I would love to have you on, but you're on Darren's show in just a little bit.
Hey.
So,
I'll probably hop off shortly so that I can ready us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I wanted to ask
I'm good for a
one thing
bit. I am good for a bit.
Yeah. Before we get on, before we get off of here, I wanted to ask you. Earlier I said something to you about how you deal with the psychological trauma that it's created for you in watching your children be abused and nobody cares to listen. How do you deal with this? What do you do to be able to get through the day?
really has been a huge struggle. I've been kind of does just go all over the place. Sometimes it is anxiety and sometimes it is depression. But I'm just having a hard time adjusting with what we're going through is all. This is the truth. Like, my little boy was removed from me, and when he was gone, this is just kind of pitiful, but really my boyfriend was my rock. I don't know what I would have done without him. I truly don't. Like, there were so many times that I would just lay in bed and not get out of bed. I wouldn't eat. I wouldn't, like, I didn't take care of myself, and if I wouldn't have had him, it was pathetic. But my son being with me now and knowing that hard work does pay off. It does. I don't care if it seems like it's not going to, or that the day's never going to come, or that you're never going to be heard, or that the truth never is going to come out. I know that we're at the end of our road 100%. I am. This last week has gave me a ton of relief. My therapist has told me for the last year and a half, it's just going to take one person. It's just going to take one person to step up. That's all. And to do the right thing.
Right.
And when they do, it's over. Like, it's over. They will pay, every one of them, in some kind of way. And when they answer to God, they definitely will. But they will pay here too. They will. It might not be right now, might not be tomorrow, but they're going to. And your kids are going to appreciate everything that you've done. And they will never forget it, I'm sure. They will always be happy that you stuck around and you hung in there for them, and that they still have you. Like, that's really that's what I have to think about. And if not, I don't know how I do.
Well, Jamie, we are praying that your hearing, you said it's February 3rd?
Yes.
February 3rd. We're praying that everything goes in your favor in the way that it's supposed to go. We would love to be able to have you back on the show to give us an update. And I think Amy had a question for you. Amy, I think you may have some issues. Were you waving at me?
Somebody muted me at one point, and that's fine.
Oh.
I couldn't say anything because I was muted.
I saw you waving. Okay. Sorry about that.
Jamie, you mentioned that when you mentioned to your little boy, "Oh, I like your new shoes," and the supervisor was like, "I won't tolerate that." First of all, to a child, that's not salty or rude. He was like, "Oh, mommy likes my new shoes."
Right.
Secondly, she's like, "Well, we're not all perfect." Okay, no, nobody's perfect. But if you have my child, if you have somebody else's child, you damn near better be fucking.
That's exactly, yeah. I wouldn't have had too small of shoes on him. I know
because
that much.
If you're going to bitch that my kid had a mosquito bite, or that you didn't like I did this and that, they're my kid. I get to decide.
Yep. But they damn sure won't have the wrong size shoe on. Excuse my French.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Well, Jamie,
thank you,
I know you have a little one to get back to. So I'm gonna let you get off here for tonight. Thank you so much for appearing. Go ahead.
Thank y'all so much. I do appreciate it. And I'll keep in touch, and I will be updating you as what I know comes through. And sending prayers your way too, Amy. I don't know exactly what you're going through, but I will keep up, and I'll reach out to you too, and we'll just kind of all, because I know
the legal TPR filings with the judge.
Do what?
The judge broke Alabama law and TPR'd me on all of my children, my oldest one and my 3 in DHR custody. And not only did she break Alabama TPR laws, after a TPR trial in Alabama, they have 30 days to sign an order. On my oldest child, they signed it on the 56th day, and on my younger 3, they signed it on the 31st day.
Wow.
Which makes them null and void, by the way. If you can't follow the law yourself, I'm going to need you to go work at a pizza place or something.
Yeah, look, and I can't wait to get back into so much more of this with you guys. This is crazy because there's so much more. I ended up getting an indication.
And the reason why they don't want you to step on anybody's toes or hurt anybody's feelings, because God forbid other people find out this is happening.
Yep.
Or that, like Kim, you mentioned some guy you talked to today is a foster parent, and you told him shit that he didn't know.
Right.
Or God forbid all 3 of us or other people like us in the group all get together and talk.
Yeah.
Because then we all learn things. And not only that, they don't want us to post online about our children, or
Knowledge is
even
power.
pictures of, oh look, this is 2 years
Yes.
ago when they were home and happy, because then they know the kids are going to see it. They know the kids are going to see it.
Yep.
There are
Yep.
people, I'm 20. There are people our
I'll be
age
27,
and younger.
the 28th.
Okay, yeah, we're about the same age then. I'll be 28 in March. But there are people our age
Nice.
who were told that their parents were pieces of shit and this, that, and the third. They find their parents, some of them are, some of them aren't. They were lied to.
Dude,
There are
my
people a
mom
little bit
was
younger than
almost
me.
in my exact situation in my county. And my ex-husband's attorney, his wife was my caseworker when I was going through what my daughter's going through.
That's conflict of interest.
As
That's
fuck.
not
And
a conflict.
there's about 5 more of them too. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Well, Jamie, we're praying for you. We're praying that you have a fantastic outcome on February 3rd. And, just whatever you're going through, please remember that there's always people out there to talk to reach out to. You've got my number. I'm sure Amy would be more than happy to message with you if I'm not able to be reached. We all make sure that we're all here for our children when they do come home, whether it is on February 3rd for you or it's 40. We want to still be able to make sure that we're here because one day our children are going to want to talk to us. They're going to want to hear our side of the story. And if we're not here to tell them the truth, nobody will. Yes.
They're waiting on you too.
I would like to inform y'all. I am walking through a shopping center parking lot with my
Killing it. Well, y'all have a great night, and I'll keep in touch.
Go love on your daughter. Go love on that baby girl while you have her this weekend.
Yes, ma'am.
All right,
have a
thank
good
you,
night.
Jamie. You too. Bye. Wow, that's an amazingly disgusting story, and it's stories that happen all the time. We have, the comments are talking about similar stories that they've had happened, and you hear these stories pop up on news feeds and newspapers in all kinds of CPS groups that we ask CPS to help us. We ask them to help us protect our children. We ask the court to help us protect our children against their abuser. And all they do is want to give the abuser the children instead of protecting the children. Our children are not a priority to our government. They're not a priority to anybody in this country that has any kind of power. And we have to realize that these people are looking at parents that are low income and who they think are uneducated. And they're saying, you don't matter. Your kids don't matter. Because of your station in life, you are not worth us giving you food and water and air to breathe. So we're just going to take your kids and abuse them and make it impossible for them to be able to have a fulfilled life and be able to become productive members of society. And we've got to stop this. We've got to do whatever we can to stop this. We can't stop screaming. We've got to make sure that we talk to everybody possible. Today, Amy mentioned a minute ago, I actually met a foster parent today who has told me that he had a lot of issues with CPS when they would get children placed with them. He said CPS treated them like absolute garbage. And all he and his wife were trying to do were help children who they thought needed a place to stay until their parents got their act together. And we talked about CPS incentivizing taking children, and the look on his face was just absolute shock. It is so very sad that so many people are brainwashed to believe that this so-called government agency actually gives a crap about kids and anything to protect them in the slightest. I think Amy's grabbing her something to eat for tonight, so I'm gonna give her just a second to finish that because she said that she's got something she wants to share with us tonight. So we'll give her a sec to finish her transaction and let her get back on and talk for a minute. But guys, one of the biggest things that y'all hear me say all the time, whether it's on this show or any other show, is we cannot let them win by letting them take our lives. We cannot let them force us into a situation where we kill ourselves. It's not worth letting them win in that way. So if you feel like you want to take your life, reach out to me, reach out to Amy, reach out to any of the other advocates that you see, Darren, Benny, Tiff. We will all, any of us will talk to you at any time. We do not want you taking your life.
I'm normally up in the middle of the night because I work night shift, which is why I'm running through a parking lot right now.
She's usually up. I'll text from her at 2 o'clock in the morning. Are you up? So, Amy, what were you? What were you wanting to share with us? What were you wanting to share with us a second ago, Amy?
I haven't finished reading it, but at one point, not too long ago, when I was reading Alabama DHR policy, there is actually a policy that is specifically for, this particular part is specifically for children ages newborn to 3 or 5, I don't remember which. That's probably 3 because early intervention ends at 3. It states that every child who comes into the, it's not worded as grasp, but we'll use grasp. Every child that's come into the grasp of Alabama DHR is to have an early intervention evaluation and be provided services if the child qualifies.
Right.
You know, specifically in my case, this hasn't happened, but this, and I thought it was just if you ask or if they see an issue, like you know how it normally is when the child is home, they are required by their own policy to get every child under the age of 3 evaluated.
Right.
And I've never heard of them actually doing it, but I think they're not doing it because that would show that most of these children are fine. And you know, abused and neglected children typically are delayed or have inappropriate responses to things.
Right. Yep.
And if there was a child that had a delay that wasn't abused or neglected, they probably have a medical record that shows why they have a delay.
They said that so my youngest son was 4 when they took my children, and they had tried to say that he was not potty trained. Although his doctor said something completely different. They actually had the foster parents convinced that he did not know how to use the bathroom by himself. So the foster parents put him in pull-ups. And within 48 hours of my children being in care of CPS, the foster parents had to take my son to the emergency room because he had an infection in the tip of his penis. My youngest son was not circumcised. He had an infection in the tip of his penis because they had put him in pull-ups and he had been potty trained for 2.5 years.
And I'm sure they were also manipulating the body part because most people think you have to clean it that way.
Yeah, they probably were. I don't believe with this particular set of foster parents they were doing it for pleasure. I think that they were
I just meant that
probably
most people
didn't have the understanding of how to properly clean the area. Yes. But
which
yes,
can cause an infection.
Correct. So yeah, they actually took him to a psychologist and allegedly had him evaluated. And one of the things was, now my kid's godfather is a Birmingham police officer. Okay, they told the psychologist that my children were taught to fear and hate the police. So, you know,
I'm just going to eat my bread and listen.
It's the modus, it's the MO of CPS to do everything they can to lie about the children to anybody who's going to have any interaction with the children, because in the classic narcissistic fashion, if I tell bad things about you before you have the chance to tell bad things about me, then everybody's going to think that you're the bad guy. So that's the way CPS functions, and our children end up abused because of it. They actually tried saying that my son was autistic. My son shows absolutely no signs of autism. He's just quiet. He's just quiet. His older brother was just like that too, very quiet. And they said that was autistic. There was no signs of autism. They wanted to have an autism evaluation for him, but the reason they wanted him to have that, even though his pediatrician, who had been seeing him his entire life, said that he had no signs of autism at all, the reason they wanted him to be evaluated for autism is because every child who has a medical diagnosis that qualifies for disability gets CPS an extra $2,000 a month, and they get a Social Security check off of that child.
But on the flip side, if a child has issues like my children do, they claim, oh, there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. See, the mom just has Munchausen.
Yep.
Have Munchausen syndrome. Because there's nothing wrong with your children. Okay, well, I have medical records.
Why are they on ADD medicine if there's nothing wrong with them?
Why is my 6-year-old on Ritalin then? Why is my almost 4-year-old severely delayed? Why is my 1-year-old with a genetic condition not having her medical appointments and stuff like that? But they put him on the ADHD medicine 2 days before the first part of our TPR trial.
Wow. Vinny, our producer, just said that his child was at 4 years old. They were trying to say his child was deaf, and they actually cleaned the child's ears out, and they were so filled with wax. I've seen photographs of this. There was so much wax in this child's ears that I probably could have made a candle the size of a crayon. But they were saying the child was deaf. So it's neglect and it's abuse, and our children don't matter because they are not their children. Our children are expendable because we are, in their opinion, not worthy of the same respect that they are and that their children are, because of our station in life, whether it's that we are low income or low educated, or that we are we speak out and we don't conform to the norm. Those people are the ones that they want to get rid of their bloodline. So that's why they take our children, because they want to exterminate them. I mean, it's literally another Holocaust situation.
I had an argument with someone on the internet, I think on Facebook the other day. I mentioned to her, because she's someone who has an adoptive child and was trying to be ugly to me on one of my posts and all that. I pointed out that she bought the child and then gets paid monthly to keep the child. And she tried to tell me that you can't buy something and then get paid to keep it. First of all, yes, you can. I can buy a dog from you, Kim, and decide I don't want the dog, and you'd be like, no, man, I'll give you $10 a month to keep the damn thing.
Right.
But I'd also like to point out, you can pay for first of all, you pay for a home study with money and all of those kind of things with money. But aside from that, they also, money's not the only way you can buy something. You can buy something with your physical self or with your behavior. And I mean, clearly friendships are not buying, but let's use this as an example. You're not going to be friends with someone that is mean to you, or buy with hard work, right, Vinny? You can buy something with hard work. You can buy something with your time. You can buy, for lack of a different English word, a friendship by, being nice and giving a damn about your friend.
Right.
And a lot of these adoptive and foster parents, some of them will even be like, well, I know this is not right, or I don't really like that, but I know if I say anything, I'll get in trouble with them, or they'll take the kids that are here. Because at one point I asked this is when I still spoke with the foster parents. I have my younger 3. I was like, hey, could you come to court with me? Or, hey, can you say something about this? Because she knew what was going on. And she said, well, I would, but I also have Autumn, who's another kid that she had in the home that was a foster. And I'm scared that if I stand up and say anything to help you, they won't let us keep Autumn. Autumn doesn't have any family. She was abandoned at the hospital.
All right.
So you can buy things with your behavior.
Guys, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up for tonight. With the ending thoughts here, Amy, I'm just going to ask you, like we do every night, give us some tips that you use to be able to keep yourself from hanging yourself or taking a handful of pills dealing with this.
I talk to people like you and other people that are in our group, and I help people in our group, and sometimes I just don't even want to talk to humans. I don't know how many times you've called and I've just been like, no, not today. So I do a lot with helping animals. I've had 3 cats live in my bathroom in the last 2 weeks that were fosters that all got adopted. But here's the thing. Please go, if you want to foster something, foster animals. These little critters actually need you to feed them and take care of them. Whether they're an adult animal that's 12, because that's an adult for an animal, or whether it's born 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Some animals, not some people. And I know you cook things and whatnot.
Right.
I also, sometimes I notice when friends or Facebook friends are looking for things, and while I'm out driving or while I'm scrolling the internet, I watch for those things. Just anything to keep myself occupied. Like right now I'm talking to you and eating crazy bread.
So for me, one of the things I do is I take herbal supplements, not marijuana. For anybody that's wanting to try to accuse me of taking drugs. When I say herbal supplements, I literally mean you can purchase it at Walmart. This one is actually one that I take on a daily basis. After my best friend killed himself, it was the one thing that kept me from losing it. But the other thing I do is I help everybody that I can, whether it's a parent or even a foster parent that just needs to understand what's going on. Recently, I've started, got a few elderly people that live in my apartment complex that are on a very limited income. So once a week, I make a big meal for them and for the warming center. And so I use that as a, when I get into those dark stages, I end up, I can't do this. I can't take my life, because if I do, who's going to cook dinner for the residents on Tuesday? And that keeps me going. It gives me, something to look forward to. I have my children look forward to when they finally come home, but Tuesday is a lot closer than 10 years from now. So the other thing I do is I talk to people. I talk to other families, other parents, and I don't keep my emotions bottled up. So, we're all here for one reason, and that's to stop CPS. But in order for us to be able to do that, we're going to have to continue to maintain our sanity. So if you have any issues, if you feel like you want to kill yourself, if you feel like you can't go on, if you feel like that's the only option you have, please reach out to one of us. We do not want to bury another parent because CPS has taken their life. With that being said, thank you very much for watching Turn the Page with Kim Page. And if you guys will stay tuned,
Imagine being a child.
In the heart of our great nation, where the strength of our communities is built upon the foundation of strong and loving families,
an urgent crisis is unfolding. Child Protective Services, CPS, an institution designed to safeguard our most vulnerable, has in many cases betrayed its noble mission. Too often, families are torn apart not by neglect or abuse, but by systemic failures and corruption. We can no longer stand idly by as these injustices continue. We are here to give a voice to those who have been isolated, to shine a light on the corruption, and to rally our fellow citizens in this critical fight for justice. Every day, countless families are caught in a web of bureaucracy and abuse of power, their lives disrupted and their bonds shattered. Children, who should be nurtured and protected, are instead placed in situations that can be just as, if not more, harmful than the circumstances from which they were taken. Parents, often bewildered and powerless, face insurmountable odds as they fight to reunite with their children. This is not the America we believe in. We cannot allow these injustices to persist. Our mission is to educate, to inform, and to inspire action. We promise to bring you daily updates on CPS, exposing the truth and fighting for reform. We must remember that the future of our nation depends on the strength and unity of our families. By standing together, we can hold CPS accountable and ensure that it fulfills its true purpose, protecting children and preserving families. This is a fight we must not and will not lose. We are committed to saving our families and securing a brighter future for all. The road ahead is challenging, but with your support, we can make a difference. Together, we will bring hope to those who have lost it and ensure that justice prevails. Let us unite with unwavering resolve and a sense of patriotic duty to safeguard the integrity of our families and the future of our nation.